Good afternoon, everybody. This is Enrique Sanchez, founder and director of HLM. Today's topic is going to be Hispanic Jews, the B'nai Anusim, and the Hispanic Diaspora. Today, I'm going to be introducing one of my new administrators for the group, Elizabeth. Thank you for being on the show, and please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, everyone. Elizabeth Cosetta Kincaid here, originally from Charleston, West Virginia, currently living in Oakland County, Michigan. Married, daughter of two daughters, Carmen and Nina. And thank you, Enrique.
Welcome to the group. So tell the audience how you got acquainted with HLM and what you feel HLM can do for the B'nai Anusim.
So I was invited by you when the group was fledgling. I guess I had responded on a couple of posts and was referred by a group member to you to be asked to participate as an admin, and I accepted, and here we are. As far as B'nai Anusim with HLM, I'm not quite sure if group members realize that their last names hold so many indicators to a secret past that they share in the Sephardic heritage diaspora.
Yeah, a lot of people in the Hispanic community don't know that a lot of their ancestors were Jews that fled persecution during the Spanish Inquisition in 1492. But over time, because of Spanish laws that were in place in the colonial empire and the imposition of Catholicism, many of these Sephardic Jews, Spanish Jews, they had to hide their identity. A lot of them practiced Catholicism on the outside while they were Jewish on the inside, but then they became so assimilated that their identity as Jews had become lost over time. But a lot of Hispanics that are realizing their Jewish heritage many of them are actually returning to Judaism. Some of them are doing it through a form of conversion, but others are doing it through the B'nai Anusim, which is an organization that helps Hispanic Jews return to Judaism without a formal conversion.
Correct, and I believe it was around 1992. There was a commemoration about the Inquisition, and that's when someone asked the question, well, what happened to their descendants? Surely there have to be descendants. And then in the early to mid 2000s, it became a conversation again. So there is a lot of research out there. It's just a question of asking the right questions. When I was a kid, my mom said we were Jewish, and I'm like, I don't even know what that means, because she hid me in Catholic school. And I thought, like the Holocaust, Germany, Russia, that region of Europe.
Poland.
And so, go ahead.
I said Poland and also Poland.
Thank you. And so that was my only reference to Jewish identity. And then I did some DNA research back in, I believe, like 2016, 17. And Hakam Dr. Yehonatan Elazar Damota had done some research in Bani in the Dominican Republic. And he had his ethnography discovering the hidden identity of the Bani Lejos. And so again, my last name is Kincaid. That's my father's name. And I know that they're Scottish. But seeing these mitochondrial full sequence DNA tests with names like Sanchez or De La Rosa, Lara, Mideros, I'm like, what? I mean, I'm Elizabeth Kincaid from Charleston, West Virginia. So I actually reached out to him, and he explained that during that phase of his research when he was getting his master's, which I believe was in the philosophy of religion and anthropology, and taking these specific surnames and matching it with Inquisition records and maternal practices within the families in Bani, that he was in fact able to draw the connection that they were the descendants of Portuguese Jewish families that established that area in the Dominican Republic. So it's been quite the journey. It just like weird life experiences with again, my mother making the claim that she did, or going to Vegas or New York and people are like speaking to me in Spanish. And even though I've taken probably since preschool Spanish classes, it's not like I was immersed to be able to be fluent, which I know is another conversation within assimilated American families, whereas the grandparents would speak it, the parents can speak it, children and grandchildren as a protective factor would not, or even forbid speaking Spanish in the home. So I think that's probably the main reason that I'm part of HLM, is to reclaim what was forcefully taken from me, which is identity, culture, and language, and a sense of belonging.
Yeah, Jonathan Alizar Amor is a very good friend of mine. We go way back. We actually went to university together in Puerto Rico many, many years ago.
Nice. I did not know that.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we were in the university together back in 2002, 2003.
Love him. Cool.
Yeah, he's a very honorable man. He's a very good friend of mine. He came to visit me once, 2010. Actually, he was the one that told me that I had Jewish ancestry myself, because he, like I said, he is an anthropologist or whatever, and he showed me like a chart. And at the time, I wasn't practicing Judaism at the time, so I became acquainted with Jewish culture and with what the Sephardim is all about. Like you, the stereotype of what a Jew is through Ashkenazi culture, which has been very dominant in the United States. You know, a lot of people don't realize that there are two communities of Jews. There's the Sephardim and the Ashkenazim, but the Ashkenazim, they seem to be the most dominant because of economics, politics, etc. But yes, I've known him for many years, and I studied with him. We've done a lot of things together. He's a very awesome person. But yeah, I do believe that that the Jewish community eventually is going to have to recognize Hispanic Jews, because we do exist. And I also wanted to discuss the issue of the racism that a lot of Hispanic Jews go through in the Jewish community, because a lot of people believe that just because one is Jewish, automatically they're going to be accepted by the community. That's not necessarily the case. There are many cases where there's a lot of exclusion. A lot of synagogues don't welcome Hispanic Jews. A lot of them refuse to recognize them because of their past history. And in many cases, if they make aliyah to Israel, a lot of them can't even get married.
And also there's a third group, which would be the Mizrahim, the Mizrahi Jews that were expelled during the Farhud in the 1940s. So I guess that would be Jews living in Arab or Muslim-controlled countries that were
Yes, that's
forced and
correct.
expelled. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of them are in Turkey and Iran and the Arab states. Yes, but they're
Yeah,
like
Egypt.
a smaller group.
So as far as racism, I see it within just the overall Latina colorism is an issue. And I think with HLM, there's great potential to replace that colorism and identifying as Hispanic or Latino, Latina first, above all, despite
Correct.
what what hue, because I mean, we have to individually look at our collective migratory routes, I guess, that predict this is why this is my skin color, this is why I'm white passing, or I know there was a post a few days ago about a Dominican having a nearly physical altercation with an African American. And it's true, there's a difference in culture. And here on the mainland, you know, the message of assimilation and colonial standards would be much stronger than islands that are visited by United States citizens in a continued attempt of
Yes,
colonization and all of that. Yeah.
yes, and also another issue is that Hispanics in the United States is like you have those that are proud to be Hispanics, and then you have those that try to hide their identity, especially if they are mixed with other races.
Hmm.
They try to pass on as the other race, and I think that that's counterproductive for the community because Hispanics, regardless of their presence being the largest, we are still invisible in terms of representation, in terms of the economy, in terms of academics, and there are injustices that have happened to the Hispanic community, but you just don't hear about it. All you hear is something happened to the African American community, this and that, but you don't hear it happening to anything happening to the Hispanic community. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It's just not covered by the media. And
Right, right. And I personally sense that there's an internal dialogue and internalized devaluation. So my now husband, we were married 6 years ago, and he's Ashkenazi and like very in your face Ashkenazi looking.
hmm
And I had this complex where when we would go out in public, I would assume that people thought I was dating, that I was the hired help and I was dating my employer. But his
hmm
conversation was like, no, people think that he thought that people would think that he's my agent and I was some whatever. And just to even look at how small I was making myself, I could see a lot of that happening here in the States because not only the political rhetoric now, but historically growing up in the 80s and the way Spanish speakers were portrayed on television. It's the help, it's the broken English, the what we think are low aspirations, when in fact, like, people's parents went through literal hell just to send them off to make sure they graduated from high school, but then to send
hmm
them off to university.
Right. And
Um,
also, and
yeah,
also another problem is just like many people uh, don't want to recognize that there are Hispanics that are educated. Like myself personally, I've gone through a lot of prejudice and a lot of experiences, not only with the WASP, but also with um, Asians, because Asians are always seen as the model minority. So a lot of
yeah,
Asians, they tend to adopt the same WASP attitude towards Hispanics. It's like they see us as inferior to them. And at the same time, the Jewish community unfortunately doesn't help either. Like I could tell you stories of how many synagogues, especially out here in the valley, treat their workers, especially the Hispanic workers. A lot of them are in many cases are being exploited, are being withheld pay, and this is horrible because they don't realize that a lot of those people that they're exploiting could possibly be their own brethren, but they're not
exactly,
aware of it.
exactly. And that's really unfortunate. I'm sorry that that has been your experience. I've only had one person laugh in my face. That was like when my kids were super little. So then I just kind of like didn't even expose myself to that conversation. But again, once I got my results due to Yonatan's research and became an advocate. Like, I'm not asking permission. I'm not going to apologize for taking up this space. That really emboldened me. And some people saw like what I was about and took a chance on sending me to represent us on a kind of national, international level. And I really feel equipped, not like 100%, but definitely strongly to represent our community.
And how do you feel that your community can bridge the gaps with the regular Hispanic community that is non-Jewish?
Well, you had mentioned something like ashkenazim, and I was having a conversation with Jeannie Milgram probably last month or the month before, who knows anymore with COVID. But I was having a conversation with her, and I got off the phone and I thought, there was a Holocaust survivor who had recently walked on. And I'm thinking, with so few left, what is going to be not a replacement, but what's going to be the next emblem or flag that we can fly to say, oh yeah, and by the way, we know that there was the Holocaust in what is that? It's 2000, so the 19th century, 20th century. There was the Holocaust and we still have some survivors. What are we going to do next? What are we going to talk about next? Well, hey, there's also this conservative estimate that 15 million United States Hispanics, Latinos, Latinas are also B'nai Anusim. Let's grab that narrative now while we still have a chance. And I applaud you for putting together HLM. Not only is it necessary for United States citizens, but I also think it is imperative or integral for the continued conversation and empowering of people of color or Spanish speakers to be part of that larger Jewish diaspora conversation.
Because the Spanish speakers are part of the Jewish community. We have a longer history in Spain than, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, Jews that were living in Russia. It's like we had a golden age prior to the expulsion when the when the Moors invaded and occupied Spain for 800 years. The Jewish community there was able to flourish, and many of the great rabbis or hakanims like Ma, the Rambam, who is
Mm-hmm.
a well-known rabbi. He was the one that created the 13 principles of faith that Jews use for their creed. Also, um, Yosef Karo, who was another rabbi. I think he was the one that codified the Shalom Arush. These are all Spanish-speaking rabbis
Mm-hmm.
that were born and
Mm-hmm.
raised in Spain. And also the language of Ladino, which is a dialect of Spanish and Hebrew, is also Spanish influenced, which is spoken by the majority of the Sephardim that came out of Spain.
That's right. So by any chance, is your Sanchez out of Cuba?
No, it's from Puerto Rico, actually.
Okay. So my Sanchez, I believe, is from Cuba. And so my diaspora would have been from, I have an issue with Spain, but I'm trying to work on that. So I will say Portugal, then to Morocco and the Ottoman Empire, then through the West African island, Cabo Verde.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe that's when it's like the Canary Islands and Hispaniola. And then I've been able to go back 6 generations maternally with my grandmothers. And I'm hoping to, for 2021, find another 6, because I'm not interested in the conversation of conversion, and return is more appropriate. And I have had several conversations with people who are like-minded that it's insulting to ask
Mm-hmm.
us to formally convert. And I had,
Yes,
yeah,
correct. Because a lot of supposed Russian Jews that make Aliyah to Israel, a lot of them don't even get a conversion. A lot of them are not even Jews themselves. A lot of them
right.
they buy their documents in the black market And since Israel wants educated people, because a lot of these supposed Russian Jews are educated and they have money, that's the reason why they look the other way. And the problem is a lot of these Russian Jews are actually causing problems in Israel. Like
Hmm.
you have neo-Nazi cells that are in Israel causing trouble. You also have the Russian mob that's affiliated with these recent immigrants, and they're actually causing a lot of instability in the in the country. So I think Israel needs to make amends when it comes to the law of return, because why are they making it difficult for Hispanic Jews to make Aliyah while a lot of these supposed Russian Jews are not even Jewish? Just because they may have had one grandparent that was Jewish automatically gives them right of return to Israel. A lot of these Russians don't even want nothing to do with Judaism. They just go over there because there's economic opportunities there compared to Russia, the former Soviet Union.
I know there is some groundwork and inroads being built in Israel. I did speak with Grace Fenn of Sephardim Hope International yesterday, and it seems that B'nai Anusim are really in a peculiar situation. And I think she was telling me about, what is his name? He's Cuban, his wife is Dominican, Manny Vilnas. And a lot of B'nai Anusim are getting really restless because they don't want to convert and become black hats. That's not even what our ancestors did in Spain and Portugal. That's that Eastern Orthodox. But anyway, I know that Ashley Perry had let me know last week that in the Knesset there is that day of recognition for our people, which might not get past this session. I mean, there's so much stuff going on in the world as far as politics and corruption, but at least it's like really empowering to know that these conversations are happening and there are people aware of us and our identity. And it's my true hope and desire that they would be advocates for us.
I also believe
It's
that,
important.
yes, I also believe that there should be an establishment of a separate rabbinate for the Ben Suim.
I like that. I really like that. I had never thought about that.
Yes, and I think if we had our own rabbinate, I think that would help out a lot, because in the last couple of years, the rabbinate has become more Haredim, which is ultra orthodox, and
Hmm.
they're making it difficult for even Reform and conservative Jews to make Aliyah to Israel, because Israel, even it was interesting about Israel is that Israel, uh, they are part secular, but they're also part religious. Like the government is secular, the Knesset is secular, but the rabbinate is religious. So the government pretty much leaves the rabbinate alone, and the Haredim has gotten a monopoly
Hmm.
in the rabbinate. So they're making it difficult for a lot of Jews in the diaspora that have been Jewish all their life to make Aliyah to Israel, especially if they are non-Orthodox. And when it comes to other communities of Jews that a lot of people don't recognize, it makes it difficult for them to even make Aliyah. Like a lot of them have to make a formal conversion, which I think is very political. So I think if we had our own rabbinate to deal with the B'nai Asuim, I think it's going to help the Hispanic Jews integrate formally into Israeli society.
I will bring that point up because I, again, had never thought about it, but I think with the special circumstances and the mention in the Kol Nidre for Yom Kippur for us, that that's a very powerful move in the right direction of righting an historical wrong.
Absolutely. All right, so we have come to the end of our time. Is there any questions or comments you would like to make before we close?
I'm just wondering personally, did you apply for Spanish or Portuguese citizenship?
No, I have not. So how would I get around that?
So Spain has actually closed their window, but Portugal has remained open as far as it's less tedious to apply, not as expensive, and
Hmm.
they haven't put a deadline date on it, which I find more genuine with welcoming our return. So if you like, I could post information in HLM after anyone hears this and might be interested in having dual citizenship as well.
Sure, I will definitely be open to it. Like I said, I would love to have a citizenship either from Spain or from Portugal, even though by default I can claim Spanish citizenship because I have Spanish grandparents on both sides.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that would be great. Thank you very
Okay.
much, Elizabeth, for being part of the podcast. As soon as I'm done, I will upload the link and I will send it out to you.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for this time together, Enrique.
Not a problem. Have yourself a wonderful afternoon.
You do the same. Bye bye.
Bye bye.